Hello and welcome JBA fans, this is King L5 and today I'm joined by Mr. Moneyguy9559 himself. I'm gonna say hello to the people.
What's up, my dollar bills?
That's right, so here we're gonna do a little JBA Generation 6 Send-Off Season Draft Analysis for the Oakland Rose Raiders, that's my team, and the Washington Whiscash, which is his team. And in this first slide, I've just put a few Pokemon that Jade likes because I'm really cool. So anyways, let's move on and let's actually get into the draft. So here's my logo looking fresh. And so I went into this draft thinking I really wanted to use Mega Pidgeot. So naturally I go onto smogon.com and I go into the cores section. And I see this nice little core with Latias, Mega Pidgeot, and Dugtrio. And I was like, that would be really cool to get. But then I did some thinking, and then there were some other Pokemon that I wanted to use, and that draft plan didn't really have a Steel type. So I was like, maybe I can go for something else. And so that's where this first pick came from, which is actually Excadrill. Now, Excadrill is a pretty good Pokemon in League, especially because a lot of people, they have their one flying type as their ground resist and that's it. And most of the time, Excadrill can beat that with the Rock Slide, maybe Iron Head, or just Mold Breaker Earthquake to get rid of any Levitate. Overall, a really solid Mon, and I thought it would do very well on my team because it does support Mega Pidgeot as well. And it's just in slightly different ways than Latias. So next up, I had a Pokemon that I really wanted to use. Doesn't really do much with Mega Pidgeot, but I just really wanted to use it, and that Pokemon is Azumarill. Now, Azumarill is really cool, especially in Draft League, because I remember in one league that pretty much died after 2 weeks, but I had to prep versus an Azumarill, and the funniest thing was, I was most scared of the Sap Sipper set. I was like, oh man, if he brings that, I'll never break it. And the versatility that Azumarill has is just so amazing. It has obviously the huge power, Choice Band, Belly Drum, Citrus, all that, AV. But you can also do really cool sets like the Whirlpool Perish Trap and the Sap Sipper defensive set, and those are pretty cool in themselves, and I just really wanted to use Azumarill in this league, just for fun. Anyways, in the next pick, I have another Pokemon that I really wanted to use. So Kyurem Black is a huge threat in Draft League, as we all know, and so that's why I went for Kyurem Normal. And the Ice Dragon type, while not great defensively, is pretty good offensively. Even though it has a relatively shallow move pool, it's still really bulky and hits really hard. Plus it has pressure if I want to PP stall anyone. You know, it's just a really cool Pokemon, really strong, and I just wanted to use it. That's pretty much why I chose it. So for my fourth pick, I actually chose Heracross. Now, Heracross was not in the original plans. Originally I wanted to have Nidoking. Well, originally I wanted Nidoqueen, but that was franchised by someone, so I went for Nidoking, the next best thing. But that was sniped by a certain Kyle. But anyways, I figured Heracross would be a decent enough wall breaker to replace Nidoking's coverage. And while it can't really set up Stealth Rocks or anything like that, I will have other Pokemon in my draft that can do that. So Heracross being the bug fighting type, it has a really strong stabs of Close Combat Megahorn. You can use Toxic Orb, Facade, maybe even the Flame Orb, Guts. One set that I really like is Choice Band because it just hits so hard, and a lot of teams have no switch-ins. So that's really fun. Anyway, so my next Pokemon, I actually went for Celebi. Now, Celebi, Excadrill, and Mega Pidgeot was one of the cores in that fancy website known as smogon.com. So I was like, you know what? Celebi is a really cool Pokemon that supports Mega Pidgeot, and is just a really good Pokemon in general. It's very versatile. It can do basically anything. It's like a dollar store Mew of sorts. While it can't do everything that Mew can do, it can do pretty much everything that's useful. And I thought it was an excellent addition to my team, also building towards a Firewater Grass Core with Azumarill. And yeah. So the next Pokemon that I got is actually Mega Pidgeot. I just didn't want to get sniped at all, so I decided to pick it up sooner rather than later. And I'm definitely very happy that I got the Mega that I wanted, because Mega Pidgeot is just so fun to use, honestly, especially on the ladder. I have never used it in League, being that I've only really been in, 2 leagues? Other than ones that die in a week or 2, but those don't really count. So I just really wanted to use Mega Pidgeot. The flying type is really, really good, especially in Draft League, that's what I'm told at least. And the greatest part about Mega Pidgeot is you can spam Hurricanes and never miss. Last season I drafted Tornadus T, and I missed like 3 Hurricanes out of 4, and I was like, I can't do this anymore, so I traded it for Manaphy, which was available at the time. And so that was really interesting. So I really like the flying type move that doesn't miss. That's wonderful. Anyways, I'm going to move on to my next Pokemon, another Pokemon that I just really wanted to use for no real reason, and that is going to complete my Firewater Grass Core, and that's going to be Chandeleur. Now the Ghost type is really cool because it can block Rapid Spins in case I want to Spike Stack or Hazard Stack in general, because newsflash, I do actually pick up a Spiker, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe I don't, maybe that was my backup, never mind. But anyways, I can stack hazards, and this can block spins. Defog will also get rid of hazards on my side, so that's not too bad. And Chandeleur with a base 145 special attack is very strong. It's not too fast, it's not too bulky, but its typing does let it wall a few things, like Infernape, for example. It can usually switch into anything besides Earthquake or Stone Edge, and you have to really predict well to catch the Chandeleur on the switch. Anyways, moving on to my next Pokemon, I actually decided to go for Miltank. Now this is to form a little wall core between Celebi and Miltank, because Celebi is weak to Bug, Ice, Fire, and Dark, Ghost. Miltank is immune to Ghost. It takes Bug and Dark regular damage, and it actually can resist the Fire and Ice with the Thick Fat ability, and also wow, that was awkward. It also synergizes with Azumarill, because I can run Sap Sipper if my opponent, say, has a Superior and I don't want to go for defensive Azumarill that game. I can just run Sap Sipper and completely wall that thing. And overall, Miltank is a very solid Pokemon. It gives me another Stealth Rocker, and it can just wall things. Really great Pokemon. Moving on, I have the backup to a backup of a backup for the Pokemon that I wanted. So originally I wanted Nidoqueen as my poison type, then I was like, alright, Nidoking's the next best thing, and then when that got sniped I was like, okay, I'll just pick up Garbodor later on, and then that got sniped, so I ended up with Weezing. And I'm actually kind of happy about that, because last season, if you don't know, Weezing did very well. It was actually, I believe, Fancy's most valuable Pokemon. So that's pretty crazy. Was it Fancy or was it Mix?
It was Mix.
It was Mix, yeah. My bad. So it was Mix's most valuable Pokemon, at least at one time it was. And I think that's hilarious, and it shows that Weezing has a lot of potential, especially as a tier 5. I definitely am happy getting it. It also gives me a ground resist, another one, to go along with Celebi, Heracross, and Mega Pidgeot, but you can never have enough ground resists, so that was pretty cool. The next Pokemon I'm going to go for is Dugtrio. Now that can trap the bulky steels that maybe Excadrill can't break. Maybe Heracross, no, not Heracross. Heracross is really good versus steels, but maybe Kyurem versus steels. Azumarill versus Steels. Basically, Dugtrio can trap anything that it wants to that's not flying type, and that opens up a lot of holes for my offensive threats. And Dugtrio is just a really cool mon. I used it in Season 1, and while it wasn't the best kill-death ratio, it was a very important member because I could always trade it for a huge threat on my opponent's team. And so it was way more useful than these stats say, and I kind of wanted it on this team, especially since it was still there on round 10 of the picks, and it was just a very solid Pokemon to pick up. And now for my last Pokemon, I decided to go for Mightyena. Now, there's no real reason for this other than it's just a really cool Pokemon with a lot of options. Probably won't be bringing it too much, but if my opponent is very weak to dark moves, I can run the Scarf Moxie set and potentially sweep late game. I can run the Intimidate set to maybe soften some physical attackers, and it's just a decent Pokemon. It gets Sucker Punch, Crunch, and then like Play Rough. It has pretty decent coverage and overall just a really solid tier 6 that I kind of wanted to use. And yeah, that's pretty much my draft. I think it's pretty good. And you want to talk about your draft now?
Yeah, okay. So, as you saw, L5 did not actually franchise any Mons, but I franchised my boy Hitmonchan because a lot of times, Hitmonchan really came through with its diverse coverage of getting like all the elemental punches, and with that Iron Fist ability, it really makes him powerful, and so it can destroy some teams, Tom, and it just makes for a powerful wall breaker of sorts, and it gives me some priority, which is pretty useful against some setup mons in case they get out of hand. And so my next pick was Megalopunny. Now, you may be wondering why, the two fighting types. Well, we want all of that fighting type hitting potential because fighting types actually are very good in the meta, and so I just got Megalopunny because it's really fast, which I wanted to try something different this time with my draft because last time my draft was pretty slow. So I was like, why not? Let's grab Megalopunny, one of like the fastest megas. And so I really wanted a mon that could also hit with strong priority, which with Fake Out. And Megalopunny just can destroy some teams with its powerful high jump kicks, when they land, and those powerful returns. And Scrappy really helps with those ghost types because ghost types can't switch in on Megalopunny. And then, Ice Punch for all those pesky land OTs out there. And so my next pick is Jirachi. And, we all know about Jirachi, the greatest mon alive. The Iron Head Flincher himself. And I got Jirachi because it's just a great mon in general. It's so versatile. You can run so many sets with it. You can run Stealth Rocks. You can run Special, Calm Mind. The usual Scarf set with Iron Head, U-Turn, Ice Punch. And, in general, it's just a great mon. It can, Healing Wish. It just can do so many things. And that Serene Grace is just a great thing to have. And so, my next pick, I got Kyurem Black. Now, at first, I didn't really know what I wanted for this pick, but I saw Kyurem Black there, and I was like, I could use a really powerful dragon type. And Kyurem Black has so much power behind it with that base 170 attack. Those Dragon Claws and Outrages would be doing so much damage. And Kyurem Black can run some pretty good sets. It can run the sub roost set to just set up on some things and destroy some teams. It has Iron Head to deal with fairies. It has Earth Power to deal with ground types, and Ice Beam as its main stab, main ice coverage. And in general, it's just a great mon that hits super hard and can run like Scarf, Life Orb. It just has some great sets and can really punch through teams. And now, my next pick is Gliscor. Now, I don't really have that much experience with Gliscor, but I do know that it's a great defensive wall because it gets Poison Heal, and so you can run Toxical on it and just get so much health recovery each turn. And it could be a real momentum passer because it gets U-turn, it can set up Stealth Rocks, it can be a Defogger if you want, and it can also be a SD sweeper with like Swords Dance, Earthquake, Facade, and like Roost. And in general, it's just a good mon that gives me a good defensive part of my core. And so next up we have Tentacruel, and I grabbed Tentacruel because I wanted a good spinner and I knew that Tentacruel is really good at it. So I grabbed Tentacruel because it's a good special wall and it's in general just a good spinner. It has, the best move in the game, Scald. And, you can run Haze in case some setup sweepers get out of hand. You can run Knockoff for support. It has Sludge Bomb. You can set up Toxic Spikes. And in general, it's just a nice special wall to have. So, next, I picked up Darmanitan. Now, I was really struggling between Darmanitan and Arcanine. But in the end, I decided that I wanted some real power, and Darmanitan hits so hard with its Sheer Force Flare Blitz with that base 140 attack, and most of the time you'll run Choice Scarf because it has 95 speed, but this thing just hits so hard and can really damper some walls on your opponent's team because that Flare Blitz will do a lot. You can run Earthquake, Rock Slide, Superpower, U-turn. It's not like there's not really much versatility with Darmanitan, but it's just such a good mon in general that it's just really good at what it does. And my next mon here, I kind of got sniped because I wanted Aromatisse, so I didn't really know what to get at this point, so I thought I might as well grab, I don't have an electric type, so I might as well grab Magneton. And Magneton is most usually used as a way to trap steel types with its ability Magnet Pull, and then just kill them or whittle it down so they won't be a problem for your other mons. And so Magneton actually has base 120 special attack, which is pretty good, and you can also run Specs Analytic, which will do so much damage with its Thunderbolts, its Flash Cannons. It can use Volt Switch and send out momentum, so it can switch into like something like Darmanitan or Megalopunny or Kieran Black, one of those big threats to put in some work. And in general, Magneton is just kind of there as a good way to trap steel types in case I need them for some of my upcoming picks, which is perfectly helps with my next pick, which is Ninjask. Now, I've used Ninjask in another league before, and that 160 base speed with speed boost is just really great. You can run the Banjask, which does a good amount of damage with its U-turns, its X scissors, and aerial aces. Some people don't realize that it gets Final Gambit, and that can throw them off guard, in case you need it. And in general, this thing can also just SD and baton pass out, and so this could be a real good baton passer. I could set up a sword stance and pass out to one of my threats like Jirachi or Megalopunny and just really destroy some teams. And my next pick is actually the one mod I knew I wanted from this whole time, and that's Dustmore. Now, I don't know what it is about it, but I just really love Dustmore. It's a ghost type, so it can block spinners, but also it gets a good wide variety of moves. It gets Ice Punch, it gets Earthquake, it gets Will-O-Wisp, Taunts, Shadow Sneak, Destiny Bond, all those good things that dark types do. And honestly, this thing has ridiculous defenses, 135 in each. It has pretty poor HP, only 45. But it also has a good amount of attack with a base 100 attack stat. So this one, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it, but all I know is that I really wanted to use it just because it's one of my favorite 4th gen mods, and so I knew I just wanted to use this. And so finally, my last pick, to round out that nice Firewater Grass core, I got Torterra. Now Torterra is also one of my favorite 4th gen mons, and basically this thing can be a great rocker as in case I need one, but also it can be a setup sweeper getting Rock Polish and Sword Stance. You can run Seed Bomb, Stone Edge Superpower, that powerful Wood Hammer, and honestly it has good amount of defense and HP to be of physical walls at times with Leech Seed. It gets Roar in case of setup sweepers. And honestly, it's just a good defensive mon that can also be offensive at the same time. And so yeah, that's the end of my draft.
I think it's pretty solid.
Pretty solid.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
All I can say is good luck to you, L5, and I hope to see you in finals, my bro.
Good luck to you as well. Alright, that'll be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.